Oh, good morning, everybody. So, amazingly, I can go live on YouTube. This is crazy. I didn't think that I could, but I can. Weird. Let me see. Oh, my face is nice and dark. Um, I don't know if I will. I like it better when I don't see myself because I can focus. So I did put it on Facebook that I can go live here because since I changed my page to professional and public, I need 100 followers for Facebook. And of course, the more the merrier. But if that's not going to happen or it's going to take a while, I can come here. So this is like incredible. I'm like shocked. I didn't think I could go on live on YouTube, but here I am. But I can't do it on my phone though. I don't know why, but I can do it on my desktop computer. So anyway, I'm learning this like I've learned all the other ones. When you know they change their standards and their policies and all that stuff. So I thought I'd give this a shot. And lo and behold, I did one yesterday too to check it out, and it worked. It is on there. It's on my playlist. So I kind of like this because I don't have to hold the phone and I can share the screen as well. And I guess I can have people over. I don't know. This doesn't seem to work. Maybe I can't. I don't know how it works, but and you can chat. Wow, this is like pretty cool. All right. Well, let me see. So the title or what I want to talk about is affordability and once again Israel. Israel is like seems to be the main topic for a lot of these podcasters on YouTube and everywhere else. Can't get past Israel. Everybody is talking about it. I've like had it. I'm sick at this point. I'm sick and tired of listening about Israel. And I have talked about it and I am sick of the wars. That's my thing with Israel. Every time we have any association to do with Israel, it's always a war. And I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want my money supporting what they're doing, what the Israel is doing, or the government is doing to the Palestinians. I don't want this. I don't want it. Okay. And I don't like all the administrations that we've had up until now doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. These people, Netanyahu and the rest of them, can just do whatever they want. Now that's like, for instance, Chuck Schumer has brought up that he wants to a bill or something against Nick Fuentes. This is like getting out of control. I mean, what is this now? We can't say what we want to say in this country because of Chuck Schumer? Because of what? Why is our government so hell bent about Israel? Why are our laws being done to for them? I don't understand this. Actually, nobody understands it. Nobody does. I definitely don't get it. And I am going to try to get away from that for a little bit because my head is like exploding from Israel. Israel is, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And I have talked about the anti-Zionist pack also that people need to know about because our elected officials, except for a few, like the Republican, there are two that don't take AIPAC or pro-Israeli lobby money. These are the people we need to support. So, but there is this revolving door in our government that is stuck on Israel. Okay, the Zionists. And you can't pay attention to them. They have to go away. They have to go away, and we have to focus on what we need to do in this country and stop talking about these people that say things, the Zionists, that say things that really go contrary to who they're supposed to be serving. They should not be in these positions if they're going to serve another government. This is treason. This is treason, and it's got to stop. And that's what I'm going to say about it. And, sometimes the more you talk about something and the more energy you give it, the more it expands. I really don't want to talk about that anymore, but it is a problem. So I am going to be talking about more of what the other side or what the anti-Zionists are saying and doing, rather than focus on the Zionists that are trying to change everything this country stands for, that they live in, that people voted for, which is our free speech. And President Trump has got to stop this nonsense of bowing down to the donors. We are the donors, the taxpayer. We're the donors. We're the ones that gave billions or trillions of dollars now to Israel, not Miriam Adelson and the others. It's us. It's us. And we don't want it anymore. It's growing. This anti-Zionist movement is growing. They don't like it. And so now they're trying to use their power, like Chuck Schumer, to try and legally stop people like Nick Fuentes to say what they got to say. It's not going to stop anything. If anything, it's just going to get worse when you try to do something like that. People don't have blinders on like they used to. And Zionists own the media, and we are being fed propaganda that we have to support Israel because Israel are angels and they're innocent, and because of what happened to them in World War II. Does this give them license to do what they're doing in Palestine and beyond? No, it doesn't. They should be opposite. They should be the ones to want to have peace with their neighbors, because the Palestinians never did anything to the Jews, because the Jews lived in Palestine. A lot of them were born there. There were never any wars in Palestine when the Jews went to go live there. There are Christians that lived there too. There was never an issue. So what in the world is this all about? This is about greed, power, control, and that's it. That's all this is. It's sick. It's sick. So I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to talk about what the Republican Party and President Trump needs to talk about in order so that the Republicans keep the House, the Senate, and the White House for a while. And that is affordability. This is what this is what President Trump needs to hammer home. I think that it's always the most important issue. It is the economy. As they say, it's the economy, stupid. It's the economy. What he needs to talk about, and the Republicans as well, all of them, what they have to hammer home is that inflation did not get any worse. It is holding steady, as I just learned. Gas prices are down under $3. And jobs were created, and more is to come next year. Okay. So this is what President Trump and the Republicans need to talk about. And it is getting drowned out by Israel. and the Israelis and the Zionist movement and or the anti-Zionist, whatever, Zionism. You need to be aware of that because our taxpayer money is going to Israel and we could use it here and our debt would significantly go down if that would stop. Okay. And they're in a panic. They are. They're seeing that the Zionists are seeing that they're losing support and they're freaking out. Good. Let them freak out. All right. They should be freaking out. We live in this country. We're the taxpayer. We don't want any foreign aid for anybody. No wars, no involvement in wars. We stay neutral, period. We stay neutral. That's me. But President Trump is not doing that. But all the other ones didn't do it either. This is almost like the same old story over and over and over again. Affordability. Where did I see that? Not that one. Anti-Zionist facts, why they're panicking right now. Yeah, here it is, right here. All right, I need to share it. It is a video. Everyone's talking about affordability. Yes, it's the economy. We have to talk about the economy. And he said it, I don't know his name, but here is Victor Davis Hanson. I've seen some of his videos. He did a very good one, a commentary about what is coming next and what is happening right now and how we can adapt and move forward from what is happening right now, because he believes change is coming. And this is what a lot of people voted for. And the Epstein files being now going to be released. So that was a campaign promise that the president made during his travels there. So that's good. I'm glad he did that. And hopefully what the question is going to be for that is anybody going to actually go to prison for it? So far, I have not seen any of the elitists, or not very many, get charged with anything, let alone with the Epstein files. So I don't know, there was somebody that did resign. I think it was Larry Summers. He's Harvard, he's something to do with Harvard. So he's gone, he's left. So if that's what it's going to take, good. You know, these are all good things. Some people might not like it. Some people don't like change. Some people don't like that these things are happening because it is going to change a lot of things. And a lot of people like the status quo. It's comfortable. I don't. No, we need a change. And so did 77 million other people in this country. We need a change. And it is happening in this country domestically. I think the president is doing what he said he was going to do. Abroad is a different story. It's not. I don't want a war with Venezuela. Hopefully he doesn't do anything. He smartens up, pulls away, and stops using the excuse that they are drug boats, and they could be, but maybe they're not, because a lot of innocent people have been are gone because of it. And we're going to make more enemies than friends. So I really don't think that this is a good idea. It should never have started in the first place. It's an excuse to get into Venezuela to overthrow Maduro, who he wants to step down. I mean, hello, can't you negotiate? Aren't you the one that brags about being this negotiator and peace president? What he's doing in Venezuela or is thinking of doing is wrong. It's ridiculous. We're going to do this all over again now. Isn't this what we did in the Middle East? And what happened? Nothing. Do we ever learn? Like, do these warmongers ever learn? Who is he listening to? Who's President Trump listening to? Lindsey Graham? Pete Hegseth? Are these people warmongers? Like, what is this ridiculousness that we have to go into Venezuela? It's dumb. So this is a good video. And he stresses what President Trump needs to hammer home, and that is affordability. Because the 20 to 40-year-olds can't get into the housing market. And that's why President Trump had the idea of having a 50-year mortgage term. Some people might like that. Some people might not like that. But it will probably get them in the door if they want a house, because the payments will be low because it's spread out over 50 years. He doesn't talk about that, but all these things, all these, the interest rates, the deportations, the illegals that are leaving is now going to open up the doors for the Americans who should have been thought of in the first place. For their jobs, wages will go up because these illegals and foreigners, they don't pay, whoever they work for don't pay their wage that the American workers want. So when these people leave, these doors will open up. And Marjorie Taylor Greene talked about H-1B visas that are given to foreigners, and universities like Harvard that give away a lot of their seats to the Chinese foreigners. We need to have Americans in there, okay, not foreigners. So President Trump needs to work on that. H-1B visas, getting into Harvard and Ivy League schools. I'm sure Americans, there are plenty of them that can get accepted into these schools, not 600,000 Chinese foreigners. And if it is an issue, and if he says that American workers can't do or are not trained to do what these companies need to do, well, then you need to go to the education department and Linda McMahon and ask her to come up with some program if it's going to stay federal, because I thought it was going to go to the states. But you know what President Trump was working on for the first few months he's been derailed by foreign policy. And he needs to get back to concentrating what is happening here and not Israel, because I didn't vote for him to worry about Israel. I don't care about Israel, and neither does anybody else. So, other than the Zionists. So there are more important things, more important fish to fry, as they say, in this country than that. And what we need to do with Israel is stop supporting them with taxpayer money. So that's my take on it. Well, here, let's play a little bit of what he starts out with.
About affordability lately. It's become the buzzword for an entire generation, those folks between 20 and 40 years old who feel completely crushed and suffocated by the weight of modern economics. These people see their dreams getting stomped on because they simply can't scrape together enough money to buy a house, can't afford to take their families on a decent vacation, and definitely can't handle the skyrocketing costs of basic health care. This whole mess ties directly into massive questions about how our economy actually works and who's really running the show.
Who's running the show? The lobbyists. That's who's running the show. That's why we have these issues. Obamacare, the subsidies, the difference that has to be made up is made up by the taxpayer that goes directly to the insurance companies. So what did Obamacare do? Nothing. Obamacare made sure that health insurance companies stayed rich or become richer, and we got poorer from it. This is lobbyists. These are people that work for the lobbyists. Another sold out politician. They're everywhere. Don't think Obama wasn't sold out, because he was. They all were. And that's why we have this mess. Bill Clinton with NAFTA and closing down our factories and the like. And President Trump trying to bring it back. Hopefully next year, we'll start seeing the economy change and people, American people, will get jobs where, a lot of the illegals took. And I'm not just talking about the low wage jobs. I'm talking about other jobs as well, high paying jobs. So this all has to change. So I think President Trump is trying to do that. Is he perfect? Obviously not. Domestically, he seems to know what he's doing. Foreign-wise, no. He's going to meet with Mamdani today. And he's already a mess. They've already told him in New York, Mamdani, that he cannot have free bus transportation. It has to be paid, or else it'll crumble. His campaign promises that people voted for are not going to happen. It's an illusion. There's no such thing as free. You have to pay for it. And people don't understand this still. Why is that? Is because what? They're on welfare? And who do they think is paying for their basic needs? The taxpayer. It's not coming from the aliens. It's coming from the taxpayer that is working. They're working. And the millionaires and the billionaires too, believe it or not, they work. Probably harder than they do. But they would rather steal it and would rather have free everything and anything to make their lives easier. Actually, it doesn't make it easier. It makes it worse. If you are dependent on people that are feeding you and housing you, when they leave, you're out in the streets. Go find a job and work, especially if you can. So this economy, this mess that this country is in, and this unaffordability that's going on, and Trump trying to change it. I don't know if he can. Hopefully, it's better. The jobs and inflation has stayed steady, hasn't gone up, it hasn't gone down. But gas prices have come down at less than $3 a gallon. I've seen it. And manufacturing hopefully will come back, and they said they would. So these things, take a little time. It is not instantaneous, these things. Everything is going to start changing next year. But President Trump is also going to be campaigning for the Republicans to get out and vote. And maybe he's got a little momentum now that the Epstein files have come out, and he needs to talk about affordability, and he needs to talk about the economy, which is what Victor Davis Hanson does in this video. I'm going to continue.
But here's where things get absolutely wild and frankly a bit crazy. The logic coming from the left and the Democratic establishment is so twisted and backwards that it makes your head spin just trying to follow their reasoning. Let me break down their argument so you can see just how ridiculous it really sounds. For 4 straight years under their watch, we experienced brutal hyperinflation that crushed working families and destroyed savings accounts. We're talking about inflation hitting a devastating 9.1% back in 2022. And even when you average it out over those painful years, it stayed well above 5% consistently. That's not just numbers on a screen. That's real people watching their paychecks become worthless and their grocery bills double seemingly overnight. But now listen to this twisted reasoning they're pushing. They actually have the audacity to turn around and blame Donald Trump for having inflation rates of 2.6 to 2.7% during his first 10 months back in office. Think about how insane that accusation really is. They're literally attacking him for not instantly fixing the disaster they created with their reckless spending and terrible policies.
Everything is political with the Democrats because they have nothing to stand on. I think the Democrat voter has got to be the scariest and clueless voter in this country. Did they really forget what the Biden administration did? Did they really forget what happened with the open borders and the high crime and the inflation? Did they really forget that? Because it seems like they have, because they're making it political. Nobody should be voting for these Democrats. No one. No one. After what the Biden administration did with the children, with the school systems, what they were being taught, and the indoctrination that was going on, let alone couldn't afford anything, let alone the open borders and the high crime and all the horrible crimes that happen to people in this country. And you know what I'm talking about, the one in Georgia and these violent criminals that came across our border with no vetting. How can anybody with the conscience vote for the Democrats? Like, how does this happen? They just came out with a video the other day saying and asking the military not to obey the commander in chief, President Trump, if it's unconstitutional. But they did not give any examples of the orders that President Trump gave to them that was unconstitutional. Again, this is all political. And again, people that are sore losers are going to latch on to this because the Democrat voter and the ones that are out in the fringes are clueless. They're not very bright. They're not very bright. They're not. They aren't. So it's a scary voter. That is a scary voter. It really is. They really do sound like there's something wrong with them in the head. Continue.
They're saying he should be held responsible because he didn't magically erase their mistakes fast enough for their liking. Their whole strategy seems to revolve around this backward thinking. They want to obstruct him in Congress at every single turn, and they're already planning their comeback campaign for 2028 based on the argument that their policies, which caused the hyperinflation in the first place, should be given another chance because Trump hasn't brought prices back down to previous levels quickly enough. They're essentially demanding that he should have achieved not just moderate inflation or even low inflation, but literally zero inflation immediately, something they never accomplished themselves. The sheer nerve of this approach is staggering when you really think about it. They break something badly, watch it fall apart, then blame the next guy for not fixing their mess instantly while simultaneously trying to prevent him from implementing solutions. That's their entire playbook right now. And they're counting on people not noticing this shell game they're playing with economic responsibility. But there's another crucial element to this situation that demands our attention and understanding. The Trump economy right now is engaged in what I would describe as a high-stakes race against time. It's a race with incredibly important consequences because there's only 1 year remaining before the critical referendum of the midterm elections arrives. These upcoming midterms are going to be fundamentally different from typical midterm elections we've seen in the past. And the reason is simple. The Democratic Party has transformed into something completely unrecognizable from what it once was. This isn't your grandfather's Democratic Party anymore, not even close. What we're looking at now is essentially a radical Jacobin-style neo-socialist clique that has seized control of the party machinery and is driving it toward extreme positions that would have been unthinkable just a decade ago. The stake.
Totally. The Democrat Party are not what they used to be. And they are now radicals. They are socialists, they are communists, and they incite violence as well. And these type of people attract the fringes of society who are angry or think they're being taken advantage of by big corporations, that they should get everything for free, that they don't have to do anything, that the billionaires should support them because they don't pay enough in taxes. This is all communism, by the way. This is communism / socialism. So yeah, this is very different. New York City with Mamdani, who now, he's not going to be able to have free transportation. He's not going to be able to do a lot of things that people want, and that's free everything. These people don't understand how the economy works. That's why these people are scary and clueless. They're scary. Who's going to work for free? You want something for free, for real? Then you go to work for free. There will be no money transactions. That's how it will work. Get rid of the money supply, and everybody does everything for free. That's how it will work. But if you have banks that loan you money and interest and credit cards, and you borrow from a credit card, and if you don't pay in time, you pay interest, you tell them that give us you're not going to be working anymore. We're going to shut down the bank because there's going to be no money supply. That's how it'll work. So if these people really want things for free, then they should set an example and go to work for free. That's what they should do. Let's see what else he's got to say.
Couldn't be higher because if Donald Trump loses control of the House of Representatives during these midterms, the consequences will be immediate and severe. Within literally 1 week, maybe even less, he will face impeachment proceedings. That's not speculation or fear-mongering. That's a stone-cold guarantee based on everything they've said and done. Those impeachment hearings won't be quick either. They'll drag on for weeks, stretching into months, dominating news cycles and consuming government attention. They'll make the recent government shutdown look like child's play by comparison, just a minor inconvenience. The entire agenda will get derailed, progress will grind to a halt, and chaos will reign. So the pressing question becomes, how does he prevent this nightmare scenario from becoming reality? Well, fortunately, the foundation is actually pretty solid when you look at the real numbers instead of the media spin. We currently have a fairly strong and healthy economy, despite what the doomsayers predicted. Inflation is hovering between 2.6 and 2.9%, which is manageable and nowhere near the crisis levels we saw previously. It'll probably average around 3% for the entire year when we calculate everything, though we won't know the final numbers for a while. GDP growth is projected to hit around 3% for the year, which represents solid expansion and economic health. Although, interestingly, the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank has suggested it could potentially reach as high as 4%, which would be absolutely fantastic news for everyone. The stock market keeps hitting all-time record highs, which means retirement accounts are growing and investor confidence remains strong.
And this is what President Trump needs to push. This is what he needs to talk about when he starts rallying next year for the midterms. This is what he has to talk about. Period. Nothing else. Nothing else. Hammer this home to the people so that you can get that base energized once again so that they will go out and vote for the Republicans, because the Democrats are a mess. I absolutely do not want the Democrats taking control of the House. They are going to ruin this country. They're going to finish the job that Biden did or tried to do. And now President Trump is derailing it, and they don't like it because they want control, communism, chaos, so that this country can go down. And you have voters that are clueless and they're going to vote for the Democrats. Why? Why are they voting for the Democrat? What the hell have they done? What the heck have they done? So let them stay clueless. Let them vote for these losers that are in Congress right now. And like Victor says, President Trump needs to hammer home the economy and its growth and its continued growth, and how inflation has stayed steady, the economy is growing, and it's doing okay. Let's see what else it's going to say.
Remember all that media hysteria and panic we were bombarded with during the spring months? They told us with absolute certainty that the economy was heading for complete destruction. They predicted total disaster and painted apocalyptic scenarios. Well, guess what? They were completely and utterly wrong about everything. We didn't experience a devastating tariff trade war that destroyed the international commercial system like they screamed about endlessly. We didn't see a catastrophic trade war with China that demolished the economic interdependence between our nations. We didn't witness a stock market collapse that wiped out trillions in wealth. In fact, as I mentioned, the opposite happened with markets reaching record territory. We didn't fall into a recession despite countless economists and media talking heads insisting it was inevitable and imminent. Every single doom prediction turned out to be false, misleading, or deliberately exaggerated for political purposes. So what does the Trump administration absolutely need to accomplish during this crucial race against the midterm clock? There are several critical objectives, maybe three main things that must happen to secure victory and prevent disaster. First and foremost, the administration has to constantly remind the American people that the economic record achieved within just the first 10 months is vastly and dramatically superior in virtually every measurable category compared to what happened during the 4 long years under Biden's leadership.
Yes. That has to be hammered home. That has to be hammered home.
The type of accident I was in, I was rear-ended.
That has to be hammered home. This is what they should be focusing on, not foreign policy. The message needs to get back to what is going on in this country, like he was doing in the first part of the first 6 months of his term. Then he got derailed with foreign policy. You need to come back and focus on what is going on in this country and what you have accomplished, and forget about Venezuela, Israel, and the Ukraine. That's, again, my opinion. I believe this country has to stay neutral and not get involved in other countries' problems. Let them sort it out themselves. They're not helping us in any way. None at all. I'm not going to get into it again. So I'm going to go back to what needs to happen here. And the focus needs to be this country. And he needs to hammer home what he has done, instead of the media talking about Venezuela, Israel, and the Ukraine. The Ukraine now has gone into the back burner because they keep talking about Palestine. They don't talk about Israel and Venezuela. So how about we get back to what is happening in this country and the good things that are going on, and how his administration, what President Trump is doing, is much better than what the Biden administration did when they were in office. So he was in office for 4 years.
On I-40, rented in
The contrast is stark when you examine the facts honestly. You pump out an additional 1 million barrels of oil in just 10 months, and suddenly the price of gasoline drops significantly. Last week, the average price per gallon was $2.98. Compare that to the average of $3.46 under Biden's policies. That's a spectacular and remarkable achievement, lowering gas prices by almost 50 cents per gallon, which means real money back in people's pockets every time they fill up their tanks. But here's the frustrating part. That incredible accomplishment isn't getting proper coverage or attention in the mainstream media because it doesn't fit their preferred narrative. The next crucial task involves reminding everyone that the left is actively and deliberately waging a coordinated war to stop progress in this economic race. Their goal is crystal clear. They want to stall this economy before the midterms arrive so they can claim things aren't working. How exactly are they executing this sabotage strategy?
Isn't that what happened with C-19? Isn't that exactly what happened? The economy under President Trump was booming in 2019. And then the virus hits. You have to shut down the businesses. You have to shut this down. You have to tell people that they have to get their shot or else they're not going to work. They're sabotaging the economy. And look who came into office. Probably not in legal means. Can they do this again? Maybe. Are people smart enough to see what happened in 2020 and 2019 and 2020 when everything was going so well in this country? Economically, we were. I remember it. And then Biden comes in and ruins it. Closes down the pipeline, opens up the borders. His executive orders got rid of everything President Trump did. And it was a mess. And you have people that want to vote for this again? Really? Really? Let's continue.
Strategy. They're doing it by orchestrating the longest government shutdown in American history. The whole thing was completely incoherent when you examine what the Democrats actually did and why. I mean, seriously, they had voted repeatedly in the past for continuing resolutions without hesitation. Barack Obama himself had delivered impassioned speeches about the immorality and fundamental wrongness of shutting down the government, calling it almost illegal to use shutdowns as political weapons just because you lost elections and didn't control the House majority. Then there's the whole Obamacare subsidy mess to consider. When Obamacare got pushed through in 2010, we were repeatedly told it wouldn't need subsidies and would be self-sustaining through market forces. Almost immediately after implementation, those promises were exposed as false. It was revealed to be exactly what critics had feared all along, a bankrupt idea requiring massive multi-billion-dollar subsidies just to stay afloat.
Mamdani's policies. That's what that is. That's what Obama did. Free this, free that. People that can't afford insurance are now going to be able to afford insurance because others have to pay for it. And what happened? Premiums skyrocketed because of it. And it hasn't come down since. And President Trump, when he got into office in 2016, he said he was going to do something about it. And nothing got done. Nothing got done. That is another problem that the Republicans have to fix. And maybe with this big, beautiful bill, it will, although I don't agree with the spending. Our deficit has to come down. And we have to stop giving money abroad. And that will bring down our deficit. And we need to keep the money here, period. We need to be first. The American taxpayer needs to be first, not last, and not thinking about other foreign governments that we're brainwashed into thinking they need our help. They don't. They don't. This is ridiculous. And the only thing they care about is our money. And that's it. They don't care about anything else. All right. So let's see what else he's got to say.
The Democrats managed to get those subsidies approved. Included a sunset clause saying the subsidies would eventually end once Obamacare supposedly became more market-driven and efficient. That transformation never happened, not even close. So for all those reasons and more, they shut down the government and created chaos. But let's be completely honest here. That wasn't the reason behind their actions. The actual motivation, if you're being truthful, wasn't about causing immediate chaos with government workers in Virginia during recent elections, though that was certainly a bonus for them. More importantly and strategically, it was designed specifically to slow down the economy and create drag on growth.
Which is what they want to do again. And we need to be aware of that because they've done it before. Consistently. They don't like this country. And like I said, the Democrats, the voter in particular, are scary. Scary people that are totally clueless in what is happening. Just totally clueless. So what President Trump needs to do, and the Republicans, they have to hammer home the economy. And they have to talk about the changes and how inflation has come down and job growth, and continue talking about investments because the media doesn't do it. So we're not getting, once again, the story. We're not getting the narrative here. The media is not going to talk about it, because if they're not talking about it, then something good is happening. And they don't want you to know because it's under President Trump's watch. It's under the Republicans' watch. And so we have to be our own advocates. The podcasters or whoever, the influencers, whatever you want, you have to focus on what is happening in this country and the good that is going on with the economy in particular, because that's what people are concerned about. Are interest rates going to go down? They should. Will the 50-year mortgage be implemented? Maybe. If things start to change a little bit, like next year with more jobs, pay raises, and wages go up, maybe you won't need a 50-year mortgage. But again, President Trump and his administration needs to focus on what is going on in this country, period, end of story. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And again, I was able to come on here live, which is, wow, this is awesome. I'm beginning to like this. So, well, I mean, all I can do is, I'm going to keep doing it, and maybe it'll catch on. I will absolutely promote it on Facebook because I can't do it there. I can't do the lives, but hey, maybe it was a blessing in disguise. I don't know. I'm going to end this. You guys have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye.